How does a top chess player analyze their game?
A3 is really a bit risky. I mean, normally we should play short castle and a short castle to play the structure, but of course A3...
You played A3 there?
Yeah, I was waiting for black to play short castle, obviously. But this move, just to wait for short castle, it looks a bit too aggressive.
Or maybe she analyzes like this.
Of course, you can play b4 and then take on b4, take king f1. So luckily I have the square g2.
Right.
So that's why the whole variation works out.
Lucky you moved your G pawn.
Yeah. To open the door. Like 10 moves in advance.
Or even like this.
So this king e2, yeah, with rook h1, it's just coincidentally winning by force.
I like that expression, coincidentally winning by force. It's like...
So it's checkmate?
Rook g2 there. Isn't that just...
That's what I was about to say.
Shall we go back? Can we go back?
Yes, rook g2.
You stole my question.
That's Peter Svidler in the audience, by the way.
It's a peer asking it, so it's...
So
Peter, great to have you in the audience.
Top female chess player versus top Ukrainian player. Hou Yifan versus Maria Muzychuk. This game was played in the Gibraltar Festival. I've taken scenes from the interview to show you how a top player thinks, discusses and analyzes their game with a Grandmaster, Stuart Conquest, who is the organizer of the Gibraltar Festival. If it's your first time here, hello, my name is William. Let's go straight to the game. At the end, there will be a bonus funny clip involving Peter Svidler in the audience. Hou Yifan has white, Maria Muzychuk has black, knight f3, d5, c4, c6 and b3. Knight f6, bishop b2. Already putting the bishop on this long diagonal, bishop g4, you attack the knight. White can put the knight in the center but chooses e3 instead. Quick development, bishop e2 and then castle, perhaps. Knight d2 played, bishop e2, e6. We get this triangle pawn chain in the center, very solid way to play. h3, kick the bishop away, bishop h5, and now knight c3. Is white going to play d4 in these kind of positions? No, because it does block this bishop on b2. Bishop d6, white now plays d3. Let's listen to Hou Yifan's explanation.
okay, actually from this moment I already have some idea like g4, g5,
I
but
bet you did, yeah.
okay, so I was also considering some move like c take d5, trying to change the course of the position, but I think black can take with both pawns. For example, if c take d5, it will also be fine for black, because this knight b5 doesn't really bring white anything. And also e take d5, I wasn't sure, probably I would even prefer to play with black in such positions.
Really, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not clear what white wants to do to achieve in those positions. I mean, if you wanted to play d4, then it would be a normal setup, but bishop on b2 looks a bit weird.
Bishop d6, d3. With this move, Hou Yifan, she's just saying, well, I'm waiting for black to commit. Maybe castle. Also, I don't want a castle yet because she's thinking of ideas with g4 to attack the bishop, to play very aggressively. d3, h6, and now a3, waiting for black to commit.
Okay, so I played d3. Well, a bit doubtful. Maybe I should just play d4 like a regular game do. But of course, I'm still having this idea like g4, so that's why I decided to wait for a tempo. And h6 seems like a, well, it's a clever move at this moment, but considering what happened later on in the game, it might be also a weakness, because later on, because of this h6, I could break through with g5.
Right.
And h6 now, a3 is really a bit risky. I mean, normally we should play short castle and a short castle to play the structure, but of course a3...
You played a3 there?
Yeah, I was waiting for black to play short castle, obviously. But this move, just to wait for short castle, it looks a bit too aggressive. And of course, if black want to do something, she can even start with a6, or like just to keep the position quite balanced. Because if white plays short castle, then short castle, there's nothing with attacking chances on the king side. And
in this position, black can play a move like a6, rook c8, even queen e7, just waiting for white to commit. So at the moment, both sides are playing a waiting game. Black now castles g4, attack the bishop, kingside attack has begun. Bishop g6, rook g1. Planning to go g5 to attack the h6 pawn. This pawn is known as a hook. So g4, g5 is now very fast to start the attack.
Seems to
Did you
me-
feel confident at this point? You felt good? You felt strong?
Well, of course, I understand that I'm taking some risks, but in a real chess game, actually, if you want really to win a game, sometimes you need to, to be brave and trying to do something.
Yeah.
e5 played. h4. White gets on with it. g5, h5. Couple of pawn pushes. D takes c4. This is the move that totally surprised Yifan. d4 was much better because after take, 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 then we can go knight e5 and bishop h2 as well. Really cool move just to get the bishop off the d file. You attack the rook goes g2 and not moving the bishop at the moment, knight e5. So then the queen attacks this. Rook h2, queen d4, and black has a lot of compensation. This pawn is going to drop. Black has knight, bishop, queen on it.
And the d takes c4 actually surprised me a little bit. I remember she played that quite quickly because I was thinking about this move d4. Seems like even more like natural.
Okay.
Because here we have to take this sacrifice. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
So the idea of d4, sacrificing a pawn, is just to open the e file.
not only the e file, actually the weakness is also this knight and d3 pawn.
D takes c4, take back with the d pawn. Knight c5. Another option was queen e7, just to keep it flexible. Knight c5 is played. With this move, black has a lot of control. Knight, knight, and bishop, they all control the e4 square. This queen now defends the bishop. Also, black might be coming into d3. g5 was played in the game, but actually b4 is much stronger. When the knight moves, now you can go g5, and after take, 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 knight h4. Very dangerous. The knight is going to grab the bishop next, c5, queen b3, bishop c4. Knight takes g5, let's say, take, take. The entire structure is just collapsing. Bishop moves out the way, queen b3, put the other bishop on c4. Very, very dangerous. g5, but even top players get the move order wrong. With this move, I think Yifan should play b4 first. Black now strikes with e4. Couple of knights are being attacked. Knight d2 played. Take, take. Knight h7. This is the critical moment.
But she did quite a good move e4, which I didn't really consider when playing g5. And this knight h7, I thought she missed this knight take e4.
White now crashes through in the center with knight takes e4.
Okay, if
This
you
is
wanted
quite
to take on
important.
e4, probably you should try to take with the bishop first, because this variation might be a bit more than, because you have this check. King f1, knight d2. I wasn't sure. Of course, you can play b4 and then take on b4, take king f1. So luckily, I have this square g2.
Right.
So that's why the whole variation works out.
Lucky you moved your g pawn.
Yeah. To open the door. Like 10 moves in advance.
Knight takes e4. A really cool tactic. Take, and you can still take back. The point is, if you play bishop takes e4, then queen d4. You attack the bishop and you threaten mate at the same time. Black can actually try bishop takes e4, which we're going to see Yifan explain. Take, take, queen d4. Same idea of mate. But black has to try queen a5 check. White has to play b4 here, but if king f1, this loses. Knight d2 check. The king has to go to g2 and now queen g5 check. You defend against mate. The king moves out the way. And then queen h4 is going to be, queen h5 I mean, is going to be mate. Check. Queen h6, sorry. And then queen h2. King f1, knight d2 can't go back because knight f3 is double check. But this just, none of this works out because after knight d2, after queen a5 check, you go b4. And after take, 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 king f1 now works, because knight d2 check, king g2, there is no queen to take on g5. And white is totally winning here. Knight takes e4, bishop back to e7, bishop d3. Bishop takes g5, queen c2. I mean, check out this position. White has everything going for her. Everything is lined up facing the king. Two bishops facing black's king side. You've got a rook on the g file and you're ready to castle, and a knight is going to hop in. Totally crushing. Queen e7. Queen bishop attack the knight, get the rooks in game. Knight takes g5. Now knight takes g5 played. Bishop takes d3. We're going to listen to Yifan explain this. Absolutely incredible. So I'm going to show it here first, then we're going to see her talk about it. Knight takes h7 is a brilliant move. Bishop takes c2, rook takes g7, check. King h8 and rook f7, check. The king moves and then you take. And you're just a piece up. You cannot play bishop h7, getting your piece back because of rook g7, check. King moves out of the way and rook g6. And that is mate. What a variation.
So I was trying to find something else here, and the knight g5 is supposed to work out for sure. Because bishop d3 cannot work here, it will face knight h7.
Ah.
Yeah, that's the important idea, because if queen take d3, probably knight g5, this game long castle rook d8. Anyway, black could, with the knight e6, f6 is still playable. Yeah.
Chose to checkmate?
No, but
it's just to win
I mean,
material, yeah?
take g7, f7, e7.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the game, queen e7, take, take. Planning to come into f3 with check. But white still crashes through. But bishop takes g6. Knight f3 check played. King e2, vital. Because you get the other rook in the game. Take, 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 and take. Every single white piece is putting pressure on g7. It's too much. Black's king is too weak.
So this king e2, yeah, with rook h1, it's just coincidentally winning by force.
I like that expression, coincidentally winning by force. It's like...
g7 is too much. Black's king is too weak. Rook f7, rook h1. This is totally winning. Queen e8. There is one final trick in this position which Stuart talks about.
Yeah, so queen e8 with the last trick take on f2. So I cannot play the rook immediately.
I might have missed that for white, you see. It takes f2 check.
Okay, so...
Queen e8 with rook takes f2 check. So if you played a nothing move here, then that actually picks up the queen. So there's always a chance to lose any position. Queen e8 played. Queen h7 check. King f8, rook h4. It is okay for white to be down in exchange, rook for bishop, because, well, this rook in the corner is doing nothing. Queen c8 played and rook e4, just cutting off the king, and queen h8 is mate.
It's beautiful diagonal, the way you played this b3 on the third move. And look at that bishop.
It works out
look
at
at
the
that
end.
bishop.
Yeah.
I think we better wrap up there. Yifan, it's been a fantastic game that you showed us. And thank you very much for your time and for all the wonderful things you've shared with us this evening. Thank you, and best of luck in the rest of the tournament.
Also considering something interesting like f4, I was trying to play something even more forced, but I'm not sure whether it works out or not. Like rook g7, king h8. Yes, but because the rook f7 will face bishop f6. So of course the move could be like king e2, right? But then bishop f6. I wasn't so sure even this line will be good for white at all. Because you will have this simply rook g8.
Well, brilliant game. Anyone from our audience here at in the Archie Suite like to ask Yifan a question about that game?
Do you remember the variation where you went with the king to e2 to play rook h1 checkmate? And then you said bishop f6.
Yes.
Unclear.
So it's
what
checkmate?
about rook g2 there? Isn't that just...
That's what I was a little bit about to say.
Shall we go back? Can we go back?
Yes,
Yifan?
rook g2.
You stole my question.
That's Peter Svidler in the audience, by the way.
It's a peer asking it, so it's...
So
Peter, great to have you in the audience.
So Yifan and Stuart Conquest are talking about this position. In the game, bishop takes g5 was played, but let's actually check out what if black gets rid of the knight on d4. Take, couple of bishops, facing the king. This just looks so dangerous. Let's say the queen's come off, and knight takes g5. You attack the bishop, so you might move it away, but no. Yifan sees the very interesting f4, as we see in the interview. f4, forcing the knight away. So if knight takes bishop, rook takes g7, check. King h8, and now king e2. Yifan, she was not sure if bishop f6 meant black could get out because she computed the variation take. And after rook g5 with rook h1, you go rook g8. So black controls the G file as well, and after check you can actually block with the knight. But, as mentioned, when there's a rook here, you just tuck it back. It does not matter, this bishop is en prise.
You remember the variation where you went with the king to e2 to play rook h1 checkmate? And then you said bishop f6.
Yes.
Unclear.
So it's
what
checkmate?
About rook g2 there? Isn't that just
That's what I was
waiting?
about to say.
Shall we go back? Can we go back?
Yes,
Yifan?
rook
You
g2.
stole my question.
That's Peter Svidler in the audience, by the way.
It's a player asking it, so it's...
Rook g2, game over. Rook h1 is next. There is no good way to stop it. Here's YouTube's suggestion for what to watch next, but maybe you don't like that option. If not, you might like Magnus Carlsen wins in 39 seconds. Maybe you don't like that one. So you might like Firouzja beats Carlsen in 29 seconds.